Previously on My Hero Academia, the battle against the villains raged on, and while Uraraka and Froppy are doing their best against Himiki Toga, Todoroki and the sidekicks of Endeavor are facing off against Dabi. And of course, Todoroki has one question for his brother. Why? Why did you become this thing? Will we find out Dabi's story of how Toya became the devious villain? Let's check it out and find the missing pieces for this villainous turn. Alright, My Hero Academia number 350. Bound to a fiery fate. Okay, follow up word Dabi. Okay, it's the doctor speaking. I suppose the big day has begun then. They're at the police station, and one of the guards says, "Be quiet." The doctor says, "You're light on guards today, so it's pretty obvious. All to prepare for today. That's why we sought out twisted raw material born into this world." Interesting. Warped seeds that could serve as his vessel. And you see Dabi rising up in a pillar of fire, his skin becoming more and more charred black. And then we get a flashback 11 years ago. Sokoto Peak. You see, I guess a burning Toya running through the forest, his skin ablaze, his hair on fire, screaming as best he can. He thinks to himself, hot, it's so hot. No, no, no. I don't want to die. I still haven't shown him anything as he runs towards the river. So even then, he's still obsessed over trying to prove himself to his dad. Oh, the doctor still is telling the story to the guard as well. Weird. And he says, that one too was born with some cracks in him. No, maybe from the very start, it wasn't just crack. Maybe that boy was born with everything. You see essentially the charred corpse of Toya huddled up as, I'm guessing, All For One approaches him through the fire and the blaze. God, no wonder though they didn't think he survived. After a certain point, he would have thought he'd just have been cremated by the fires, becoming nothing but ash. God, it's so ghastly just to look at that. And then Toya awakens in like a children's hospital, essentially. As he roams the halls, he thinks, where am I? I'm alive? He stumbles upon some kids who greet him, saying, oh, he's awake. Sleepyhead is awake. He asks them, where are we? But then he holds his hand to his throat. He thinks, was that really my voice? Okay, even his vocal cords were scorched. The children go running off saying, this is where we live, shouting for the doctor. It's been 3 years, Sleepyhead. You were asleep for 3 whole years. At least that's what the doctor told me. Since I haven't been here that long, Toya thinks, 3 years. How? What happened? What's going on? I was on Sokoto Point, and then I burned up, and I have to get home. I guess one of the nurses, who looks like this big, beefy dude with a face like a flower, says, we can't have that now, can we, Sonny? Toya questions, why not? I guess I'll call him the orderly, says, from now on, you live here with everyone. Your very own place under the sun. They're your new family. You'll come to love it as sure as the sun does rise. All these kids were probably being experimented on by the doctor. Toya says, huh? That can't be. I gotta get home. I bet that dad was just too busy with work to come and see me, right? Probably? Yeah, he must be really worried. Those were some awful things I did and said. I should apologize to Mom and everyone, and Dad still needs to see what I can do. But I guess the doctor's voice comes across the monitor nearby saying sadly, your hope is in vain. Restoring your burnt and broken body was a monumental task. Your missing pieces had to be replaced via regenerative tissue. You're a changed man with that burned, rictus look on your face, and yet you survived. Toya questions this. I'm changed? I don't get what you're saying. The doctor responds, you'll never exhibit the power you once did. Every organ was damaged. Your senses, your ability to feel pain, all dulled. Your body is debilitated, and you'll never be the same again. Toya is shocked. But alas, despite our best efforts, we wanted to welcome you in at your full strength. We failed. That word, failed, triggers something in Toya. He thinks back to when he trained with his father. You must be suffering, you poor thing, but I might just be able to restore your flames to their full glory. Well, what do you say? Will you join our family and allow me to raise you? Toya says, shut up. No way am I getting trained by anyone else. A single tear flows from his eye. So even back then, All for One was trying to get at him. Probably just trying to get his power. The doctor continues telling the guard he'd already been too molded by his upbringing for us to lead him astray. He was already festering away inside. Even the man who had known absolute control far and wide couldn't exploit the boy's obsession with his father. Those kids were our spares, in case anything happened to Tomura Shigaraki, a seedbed of ferocity and hatred, one full of vessels for the Demon King. Dabi, as one of those spares, was a failed experiment. You see that Dabi burnt down the daycare and ran. Did Dabi kill the kids inside? Or did those kids just become Nomu? The guard, with a disgusted look on his face, spits at the doctor. How despicable. No, never mind. What are you even trying to say? More crap about how All for One had everything planned out from the start? The doctor responds, I'm saying they'd better watch out, 'cause that one boy never did buy what we were selling. That is true. Dabi's the one who never felt like he was really into the whole League of Villains or All for One thing. He was always just using them as a means to an end. The doctor says, nah, we gave up on Dabi and let him run loose, 'cause after his body came back to life and he was up and about, he wasn't supposed to live for more than a month. Really? Holy crap. And how long had it been? They said 11 years earlier. So, like, through pure hatred and spite and just everything inside him for an extra 11 years. And we see the day that Dabi came to get the high end for the battle against Endeavor. The doctor reminisces, what a surprise when the broker brought him back to our doorstep. Why had he come back? How was he still alive? And you see that on that day, Dabi asked the doctor, Ujiko, you're the one who kept me alive, right? The doctor thinks, I had to know what Dabi was really thinking, so I arranged a moment when we'd be alone, just the two of us. The doctor responds to Dabi's question, why, I'm tickled pink that you realize. Now tell me what's been keeping you kicking. Dabi responds, seeing this walking corpse here gave me a decent idea of what you people were planning on to do to me. And now I'm back, because this seemed like the perfect place for my funeral. So Dabi, he came back fully intending to die. He knew his time was limited. The doctor thinks and reminisces to the guard. That one glimpse told me everything. He'd kept his dying body tethered to this world through a pure, blazing grudge. And we cut back to the situation between Dabi and Todoroki. Dabi says, Shoto, I did come home actually, even though I was weaker than ever, and there was no way that what I was hoping for was there, but I was sure something must have changed. It's all I wanted to see. And you see Toya running, racing home. I still just wanted to be seen. But then he saw that while he was remembered, it seemed like Endeavor had just moved on to Shoto. He thinks, after 3 years away, I witnessed that old familiar scene. Damn. So maybe had Endeavor taken a different path with Shoto, maybe Dabi would have maybe Toya would have just come home, been with his family. Even if it was for a little while. Dabi tells Shoto, instead I was shown once more the reason I was born. The fact is, as a failed creation, my life had been pointless. This family had left me behind in their path. It wasn't even the case, dude. And yeah, after years, they would have tried to move on, but you weren't completely forgotten, man. Dabi continues, When you surpass your limit, it's like everything you've built up is flipped around upside down. God, and you see the skin on Dobby's body starting to smolder. I focused on honing my flame, so I wouldn't be so weak when next we met. This body of mine kept peeling away and falling to pieces, but I never felt a thing. You want battle moves? I've seen them all over and over. So he learned how to fight by just watching things through the internet. Onima, with a worried look on his face, says, Shoto, listen, I think... But Shoto already knows. Yeah, he's been prepared to die from the start. Dabi continues on. Every time that thing saved the city. Every time that thing got a boost in popularity, my heart kept pounding away. Dang. Ever since the day that Toya died and Dabi was born. So it was on that day he finally made it back home and even saw his own memorial. He put Toya to rest and became Dabi. Meanwhile, with the doctor and the guard, the doctor continues, heat is energy born of living things as they move and thrive. All for one who seeks to live forever had no use for that mad heat rushing headlong towards death. Oof, wow. The demon lord himself had to abandon that frenzied flame of death, and Dobby's burning so hot he melts the Endeavor statue. The All Might statue. God, the way Dabi looks now, just Jesus. And Dabi screams, once I've burned away all that thing holds near and dear, that'll be the mark I've left on this world. And Shoto responds, like I said, big brother, not on my watch. And I guess they're both readying the move. Flash, fire, heat, fist. Gee. A good chunk of this you could surmise, but it was the question of how Dabi survived. But of course it came down to Dr. Ukiya. It just makes sense. It was the one connective tissue that needed to be filled in, but the finer reasonings behind why he changed the way he did. Had Endeavor not been so consumed with his want and his need to bring meaning to Toya's life, his death, consumed in his greed and need and selfishness, abusing his children, had Endeavor just been a good dad. It's so surreal how many things could have simply changed had Endeavor been a better father. Damn. Natsuo might not hate him. Shoto might not have been hurt by his mother. Toya might have come home, if only to live for a few months, days, maybe a few years. But now he became like this wraith, kept alive by a grudge, by hatred, by want to make his father pay. God. But it was also really obvious that, you never really questioned Dabi's appearance. We'd seen people in the My Hero world who looked a little bit different, but I never would have guessed that his body was the way it was because his flames were actually harming himself. And the thought that he was even scoped out to be a replacement for Tomura should Tomura have failed. I was wondering that because it's just like, it felt weird that they placed so much into Tomura without any kind of backup, but no, there was a backup. Hell, Dabi was one of the backup. I really am wondering about those other kids who were there. Like, who were they? What were their stories? Why were they selected? They say it was a breeding ground of hate, but what did that mean? It also does make sense that Dabi has no feeling in his body. He's not able to feel pain or anything. Being brought back from that far along the brink, just, oof. It really is ghastly, though. That scene of him burning and then just fetal, wheezing, having barely survived. God. It's ghastly. It is a ghastly, disturbing thing to see. See, the question now is, will Toya actually be able to stop Dabi save him? Like, what do you do about a situation like this? How do you end Dobby? Because there's only two choices potentially. Seal him away or let him die. I don't know. Like, this is a situation that feels like it doesn't get a happy ending. Alright, Horikoshi, it's all you. I really can only imagine the best outcome being that Todoroki Shoto freezes him solid. Freezes him in a way that he could just be put away. Is that even possible? Can Dabi really just be stopped just like that? To be imprisoned? God, it's such a heavy situation. Dang, dang, dang. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you think Dabi's story will come to an end? I'm excited to hear from you, and I hope you'll subscribe, that way you don't miss out on the next episode. Well, chapter. But until then, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye!